episode 3 of our pre-election countdown. And we are going to take an homage to our friends in Florida who we wish them the best. I hope everyone on this call was not affected. We probably all got friends and family who were, and in fact, I've got some good friends who had bugged out. They said everything's fine. Obviously lost power. A friend of mine lost his fence, but so far so good. But we do wish everyone well, and we know there's a lot of trouble going on down there. But we're going to look at how hurricanes impact the economy, how money flow can be impacted by such natural disasters. Maybe go through a little tin hat conspiracy theories along the way, and then we'll talk about some stocks that could benefit from the money flow to address these disasters. And our good friend Andrew Giovinazzi will be joining us shortly to go over this as well. So let's jump into this, and I have a presentation for everybody that we will run through. So let's take a look at hurricanes, Helene and Milton, and their economic and market impact. So the economic impact of these is expected to be huge, with insured losses just for Milton alone estimated that it's going to be close to $60 billion. And obviously, Helene's already been through. We've seen almost $200 million of economic flow go in to address that hurricane. And that money certainly come, in addition to state and local money, there's a lot coming out from the feds, particularly through FEMA to cover immediate disaster efforts, relief efforts, and losses. And I just might say, there's been a lot of politicization around this, and we'll get into that in a second. But let's all be rational, focus on the task at hand, and we'll try and weed through some of the misstatements that have occurred. But certainly there's going to be a long-term rebuilding effort, and that will drive, the economy. A lot of times what happens with these economies, in these areas take a huge hit, and then there's a massive rebound because of all the rebuilding effort that goes in, from infrastructure to construction to materials, everything that is going to be needed to help address the devastation that has occurred in these areas. And it's going to be both, on, the individual front, as well as, looking at, larger buildings. I don't know if everyone saw, but, the Tampa Bay Rays Stadium had the top ripped off of it down there. So, there's going to be a lot of rebuilding, both commercially and individually, throughout this area. Now, FEMA's already allocated $137 million for immediate response to Helene. There's more money coming behind it. Certainly, we've heard that the disaster relief fund that FEMA has is nearing depletion. President Biden has requested an additional $12 billion be inserted into that fund. Look, there's been a lot of talk on social media, a lot of talk, in tin hat circles that FEMA is putting no money into these areas. That is just simply false. We can talk about the politics around it, and there's certainly been plenty. But to say that no money has gone into these areas is just patently incorrect. Money is flowing in. More money will go in. Currently, that is really being spent on the priorities of search and rescue, debris removal, emergency housing, and the restoration of essential services. I saw a heat map today of the Tampa area of who's out of power, and the entire map was red. So it's certainly trying to get those essential services back up will not only just be important for the people who are still there, but you're not going to see the flow of evacuees back into the area until they're comfortable that the essential services are back up. So that's certainly the key priority for most folks trying to move back into the area. And as I said, there's naturally been a ton of politicization around this, particularly around FEMA's funding. There's been partisan disagreements on is there enough money? Why is there not enough money? Where was the money actually spent? The Republicans are accusing the Democrats of spending, FEMA money on addressing illegal immigration and giving money to migrants, as opposed to having the money available for these kinds of disasters. That has happened. Money has gone in that direction, but again, there is still money in the FEMA coffers to address this. On the Democratic side, they argue that, well, Republicans had a chance prior to these disasters to give more funding to FEMA, and they declined. Obviously, Republicans then tie in, well, we're giving money to Ukraine, other parts of the world, and was there really money to give to FEMA? And they would argue no. So always a political issue, and you've certainly seen the presidential candidates jumping into this fray. President Trump is attacking the Biden-Harris administration, arguing that they have completely dropped the ball on this. They've mishandled the response. I think everyone on this call could write the script for that. The interesting little side bickering, if you will, was between Vice President Harris and Ron DeSantis down in Florida, where Harris said that DeSantis refused to take her phone calls, which shows him being selfish and partisan and not putting the best interest of Floridians in mind. DeSantis shot back in a very DeSantis way and said simply, she's not the president. She has no say in anything going on and doesn't have an impact, hasn't made an impact in the past. And he's got a very good line of communication with the president, Joe Biden, just like he had with President Trump. And he's very comfortable with his working relationship with the federal government. So everyone's going to step into this. And like I said, there's going to be a lot of misstatements, a lot of misinformation going on. So we're going to try and weed through it a little bit. So Trump is trying to use that to bolster his position moving into the November elections. And certainly, the Biden-Harris administration is going to come out, particularly with Biden now allocating more funds to FEMA. They're going to use that to say, look, we are very responsive. We are addressing these disasters. We deserve the leadership position when it comes to these types of issues. Plus, we are the climate champions. We're going to blame climate change on these disasters. I'm not here to debate that. And, as such, we're better equipped with a greater understanding of what's happening. We'll take that with a grain of salt. But that's the politics of these kind of disasters. And certainly those politics aren't going to end anytime soon, at least not until mid-November when we have an election. So with that, there's certainly some, impacts that are going to occur economically. The first and foremost will be on the insurance industry. Florida-specific insurers are going to get shellacked here. One that came up on my radar screen was Citizens Property Insurance, and very high risk of massive claims that are going to come out of this. A lot of insurers have been backing out of Florida over recent years, or limiting their writing of policies down in Florida, or making them so cost prohibitive that people just weren't picking them up. But large insurers like Allstate, Progressive, Travelers, they're going to face significant claims. Now, they can weather them a lot better than the smaller insurers because of the reinsurance that they have in place. So then you start looking at the reinsurers like, General Re of New England, some of the large ones coming out of London, which has always had a very robust reinsurance market. They're certainly going to absorb a lot of those claims as well. So I would tend to see the stock prices on those large insurers drop in the short term, particularly, and then start, to bounce back once recovery efforts are in places and the losses are quantified. So, it's going to be a little rocky market. We could probably look at some trades on those with the downturn, but again, they're gonna pop back up. Over the longer period of time, and they've had some pretty good returns. All these big insurance companies, in particular, are incredibly well diversified. They're not just doing insurance; they are doing different types of financing, asset management. So these are very well diversified businesses, and this is just one component of their core. So I wanted to look at some public companies that could benefit from the rebuilding efforts. And, is this going to happen right away? No. Like I said, the money right now is going primarily to, very on the ground disaster relief, making sure people are safe, making sure people are fed, housed, and trying to get services back up and running. But certainly when you start looking, construction, heavy equipment, I think Caterpillar is definitely going to be on our radar screen. Big provider of equipment, particularly with they'll be part of the cleanup effort as well, bringing bulldozers, clearers in. So Caterpillar will definitely be on our radar screen. When you start looking at aggregates and construction material, Vulcan Materials and Martin Marietta, both huge suppliers to construction, and I would think that they will be on the forefront of materials moving into these areas. Mastech, little one, but I like it. Ticker MTZ, check it out. They do infrastructure and utility construction. So, certainly getting things back up and running after these disasters will be heavily on their radar screen. Andrew and I talked on Tuesday during capital gains, which I would urge everybody to jump into. We talked about Generac and its power backup systems and generators, and certainly these types of companies, these power supply companies, tend to be very seasonal, but these disasters give them a huge boost. We actually did not make a trade in Generac just because it was looking a little rich, and we didn't find one we liked, but it's still on our radar screen. These companies all tend to get boost moving into the cold weather and storm seasons. Certainly happened here, and we'll see if there's a little play left in it, but it had a pretty good run over the last couple of weeks, starting when Helene hit. And then obviously the more local suppliers, if they're open in these areas, will get boosts, such as Home Depot, Lowe's. Lots of folks have utilized them on the front end of these storms to shore up their properties. As my buddy in Tampa said, I built a bunker. So they had to get the materials from somewhere, and this is where you typically pick these things up. So good run there for these companies as well, and we'll expect to see them to do well supplying materials coming out of this. Did I hear Andrew join us?
Yes. Hopefully you can see me.
I've got my full screen on, so I can. I'll be out of this in a moment, but
oh, okay.
I'll come back in and get you in a second, my friend. But we,
I'm just around watching.
no, that's all right. Look, so kind of wrapping this up, and then Andrew and I may, we'll talk a little potential stocks here, but hurricanes, they're going to have lasting impacts from insurance to insurance market volatility, increased demand for construction and building materials. We're going to keep an eye on companies that will help with these rebuilding efforts. A lot of the ones now, I've been hunting around, which I will put it out to see who's getting contracts for the cleanup and for some of the rescue efforts, if any, that we can trade. I'll keep an eye on that for you, and we'll certainly bring that to your attention. And then we're going to look at long-term impacts on the region, the stability of the region. Like I said, much like the insurance companies, a lot of these areas, they get hit and then they rebound a little bit. But I would think, by the way, there's a third hurricane they're saying, potentially coming after the one that just hit. If that happens, I mean, the insurance companies are going to go ballistic, and I would see that a lot of them stop writing policies completely or pulling out of that Florida market. Now, that's going to have long-term implications, right? Because as insurance costs go up, insurability drops, makes home ownership a little less attractive in some of these areas. That could, which Florida's had a very robust housing market. We might see that drop a little bit. So we'll keep an eye on that as well. So all around, pretty interesting, pretty interesting developments, and we're going to keep an eye on that to ensure that everyone on this call has the best opportunity for getting some trades in. So I'll get back out into looking at you, Andrew. You look great. But we're just talking about how these hurricanes God bless the people down there. We hope everybody's okay, but they do have some big economic impacts, and we're possibly going to see some trading opportunities coming out of this. Look, as President Kennedy once said many years ago, there's two parts to every crisis, right? There's crisis, and then there's also opportunity. So let's look at the opportunity side of this and see where we might get some benefit. So I'm going to put this. I'm going to go back to my previous slide here, and let's talk shop here a little bit, Andrew. I mean, obviously we got a lot of money flowing in for cleanup and disaster relief, but we're going to see some of these companies get assets coming in for these cleanup and reconstruction efforts. And so,
yeah, like somebody like it was a little weird watching just like Caterpillar. So there's some of them are everything's acting a little funky today after the inflation news.
yeah,
So it was a little more than everybody expected. But like I think Caterpillar is stock that's down today, but it should recover. Other names like Allstate, you would think Allstate, ALL is another one where they've been like steadily rising because they keep increasing premiums,
yes,
right? So I mean, if they're going to write more policies here, they're going to increase premiums. So like I remember back in the old days we used to basically sell puts in the insurers in the middle of hurricane season. Like way back when volatilities would go pretty high in the insurers, and Allstate was definitely one of the. And like if you look at it today from a strategy point of view, Allstate is. I'm just trying to take a look. So Allstate's up $2.50 at a. It's a 5-year high. So right now, and it dipped hard. Like, so I'm just saying, so when the hurricanes came in again, it was down to like 170, 175, 176 as a low.
yep.
It's already bounced all the way up to 187. So even though even though the hurricanes, it has been an opportunity for insurers to ask more premium dollars.
Well,
So
yeah,
I don't know.
look,
Again,
and they're
that's
certainly
like
doing that on. People forget that's not regionalized, right? They are now aggregating
right.
this across the entire country. And I can tell you this, I'm an Allstate customer. My car rates have gone through the roof. Uh, you know, I mean, absolutely through the roof. Part of that's having a 18-year-old girl on my policy, but yeah, I mean, they are definitely making they're definitely making money, and they can then amortize that across the entire U.S. And as I mentioned earlier, they've also these big insurance companies when it comes to disasters. Most of this is backed by reinsurance anyway, so they're not even taking. Allstate is not taking the just for sake of argument, let's say they've got 10 billion of liability. They're not actually assuming that entire 10 billion of liability because the vast majority of that has gone to reinsurers. So
Right.
you don't even see them. People forget that companies like General Re out of Boston are going to take a lot of that liability off the plate.
And so I think one thing too for some uh, from some of our viewers here is hurricane season is a season. It's like it's you. I'm just again like old floor guy stuff. But did you ever care about Allstate ever when you traded during the year? No. You only cared about it like before hurricane season. So there was some interesting trade there. There's opportunity, and then it passes. I think that's similar right now. With another thread is rates going. Interest rates have spiked up a little bit, so we were expecting rates to go down into the and so we thought Home Depot and Lowe's might pick up on building more houses because there's still a housing shortage. I
Yes.
think that's another good long-term trend. So, you could put on a couple of trends for both of these for Home Depot and Lowe's. There's still there's still a housing shortage. I don't know what we're not getting away from it. So I
Yeah.
like those as
I saw
long-term
someone,
goals as well.
I saw someone in the chat mention, would lumber suppliers, get a boost here? And, I look at Lowe's and Home Depot at this point as lumber suppliers. So,
Yep.
and these companies certainly stock up prior to these events. A lot of sales go out ahead of time. Customers do tend to clear them out, but they will be supplying for, quite a long time. And, down in Florida as well, a lot of people do their own work, particularly in rural areas, and these are going to be the go-to shops for them to get their supplies.
Another one is prefab AZAC boards. AZAK is the symbol. That's a stock I like. Plus, I like working with AZAC when I do stuff in my own house. So
What was that symbol?
that is a AZAK. Um, and let me. I don't know. I could share my screen maybe. I don't know. Real fast, Frank. Let me see here. I'm going to
Yeah.
put it up. And
That's
there
one that
we
was
go.
not on my radar screen.
So, well, you come here and you get AZEK. Sorry, I do not know my vowels, and I'll just do a quick screen share here, just for people to take a look. And there you go. And we should have,
Wow.
and we should have some AZEK there. So it again peaked here, then after then when rates started going up, it sort of uh, pulled back a little bit. I think this is again, it's good company. Basically, you can't build any house without AZEK boards in it for the deck, for the floors, for the roof, for the walls. So this is again, it's not a chip stock, but it's another one to keep an eye on. And it's a good housing boom stock. And I think it would benefit too from, we're going to have to rebuild, a couple areas here at least. So
Yeah, and
this
it looks
stock
like.
really.
Am I correct that it's a lot of outdoor building materials?
Yeah, yep. So um, basically, when everybody's deck and everything's all ripped off, they also do the sideboards. So all kinds of stuff. But anyway, I think it's another good building material company. So
Well, look at that. You come in here and you up show me on a stock. I like that.
well, that's not. It's only because I was looking at charts and like, why is this looking so bad when all the other like Home Depot and Lowe's are looking so good?
Yeah.
Anyway, that was my big.
But certainly in your experience, these stocks tend to be very rate sensitive.
Yes. So, the stock was looking good, then the Fed cut, and then all of a sudden they started selling this one off. So, it did tend to follow. It looks like it's following rates closer than others. So, we'll see how that goes, but it could catch a little rebound here as the rebuild happens.
Well, fantastic.
And that's my big besides us. And then, in capital gains, we do this. We take these ideas and then we make option trades out of them. So that's a big part of the fun.
We've been doing well. How many open positions do we have now in capital gains?
We have, I would say, two major theme open positions. And I'm trying to get the lithium trade on right now. We're long frontline oil tankers, and we're also long MP calls, and we're long SMR call spreads. So we're long some nuclear, we're long some rare earth, we're long some energy, and that's one of our big themes. Is this AI boom is going to fuel energy, so we want to stay long those.
It's going to fuel energy. It's going to fuel data storage, and that energy's got to be non-fossil fuel energy in the end, because the power consumption on these things is going to be massive.
Right. I heard just 25% of the energy in Virginia right now goes to data storage. I'm trying to think of what massive entity has a lot of data centers in Virginia. I was trying to think.
Let's see.
What massive entity? It's got to be really big.
It's got to be one of the larger movers of capital in the world, perhaps.
In the entire world, the whole planet, maybe.
The entire planet, yeah. So, definitely, and I'm sure West Virginia's got a little bit of that too, because they like to put stuff out there. So it's it's a massive consumption, and I got to tell you, you want to know where power centers are. I grew up in Northern Virginia, and Dulles Airport opened up, and obviously big international airport, and they called it the Dulles Corridor, and it was this road that went basically from the DC Beltway to Dulles Airport, and it was nothing but trees when you went out there. When I grew up, now it is every major defense contractor sits along that corridor. Every major tech company sits along that corridor. The ones that no one really knows what they do, like Palantir, have big shops out there, and as well, you've got massive amounts of lobbying groups that all sit on that corridor. So you tell me where the power lies, and I'll show you the giant signs on buildings. So, but yeah,
what's another? I guess you would think of what's another big Virginia energy company? I think it's Duke, but anyway,
Duke definitely comes up there. But yeah, of massive, and that to Andrew's point, that's why one of the themes we've been looking at heavily is that tie-in, of data storage, the energy needs around it, but also the incentives and push coming out of DC to drive that energy towards green energy. And so we tend to tie that all in, look at the flow of money, look at how different legislation and White House edicts will impact that, and we try and build trades around it. So we've got a few good themes going on in capital gains, and we'd love for you to take a look and join us.
Yes, every Tuesday at 2:30.
Every Tuesday at 2:30. Well, listen, I think our time is up here. This is our third series. Yep. We'll be back again to keep this election theme rolling. Hopefully, we will not have to do it based on another natural disaster, and we'll just get back to good old politics, which are in themselves a disaster. And
it's their own special disaster.
Their own special blend of disaster. And I got to tell you, I mean, both these candidates are just fantastic. Yeah, they're the best creators of memes I've ever seen in my life, and right. more so than ever. So it's going to get fun.
What's odd is it almost feels like either party could have put up almost anybody else to beat the other person that's running. I know it sounds odd to say, but I don't know what it feels like that for some reason. It seems, but anyway. But
you're not wrong.
We'll see how it all shakes out.
Well, it's very interesting because you've got some people on the local side that are actually really stepping up and showing their leadership during these disasters that we don't see coming out of the major candidates. So
right, which would be nice.
It would be nice. I miss the civility in politics. Maybe someday we'll get there.
Such maybe as it was. Maybe we were just fondly looking back, like just old guys looking back at the past. Oh, do you remember those good old days?
The good old days when
everybody.
The good old days when the Republicans and the Democrats used to get together in the basement of the White House and play cards once a week. That's when things used to get done.
Right.
we got to bring poker back to the White House.
There we go. That might help.
All right, sir.
Well, have a good afternoon.
Thank you for hopping in today. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And we will.
And everybody pop on in for cap gains on Tuesdays. 2:30.
Perfect. All right. Have a wonderful weekend.
All right, everybody. Bye-bye.
Take care.